All right, today I'm going to show you how to design one of these things in Fusion 360. It's basically a rotary to reciprocal motion. So if I right click on that joint right there and animate model, you'll see what it does. So constant rotational motion on this wheel right here, and it makes this this piece reciprocate. So it goes back and forth. This is how like a jigsaw works, sawzall. There's all kinds of machines that use this same motion. I used it to make this drawing machine that draws a sine wave. So if I show all components, you'll see this. So basically, it's like there's a little clamp on there, and if I get that same one and animate the model, you'll see this pin is drawing on that platform, and then there's a roll of receipt paper right there that gets rolled out between these other rollers. Everything isn't connected right now, so it's it might not be that easy to see what's going on. But anyway, that's the general idea. So yeah, I'm not going to get into all the details on all this stuff, but I'll show you how to make the most important part, which is this rotational motion, and you can use that in your projects however you want to do it. So start with a new design, and then the first thing I'm going to do, might as well just save it first. So let me show you demo. I'm going to insert the master car component and start with a bearing. So all this stuff works with skateboard bearings. I'm working on this series of 3D printed machine parts that work with skateboard bearings, so hopefully you'll be able to make all kinds of stuff with these. So skateboard bearings are 608 ZZ, that's the type of bearing. So 608 ball bearings, and then open, and then product detail. And you'll see if you scroll down, there's this, it gives you the dimensions and all that stuff. And then for file type, I need a 3D step, and then save. And it'll bring that in as a component. I want to rotate it to the side because the way this one works is it needs to be on its side on a little stand, basically. So rotate it 90 degrees and click OK. Now if you look back at this one, you'll see the way it works is I've got there's a bearing right here that this thing is turning on. Let's get that base, right click and ground it so it doesn't move. So that bearing is turning, right? So I've got like this driver socket right there, and it's attached to this wheel, right? And then the wheel has its own bearing on it, right? There's like 2 bearings over there on the edge of this wheel that make the arm move. So the whole thing's got 4 bearings, right? So let's start first things first. So here's my bearing, and then I'm going to need a wheel. So actually, I'm going to start with this part. Let's see, how would I do that? Yeah, okay, we'll start with the wheel, the stand. So I'm going to go new component right there. That's under a symbol. Click OK. Then I'm going to go to Sketch, Project, Include, Project. That's going to give me, put me in my own sketch. It's going to start a sketch for me. So I can click there. That's just like the middle of the whole canvas. And then I'm already in the project tool. I kind of skipped a step there, but it's good to know that it works that way. Click on bodies, and I'm going to pick the outside body right there and the inside body. Might need both of those later. Click OK. So now I've got the outer perimeter of this bearing I can draw in. Look at it from here. I'm going to make a new sketch, a circle, or actually a new object in the sketch. A circle, center diameter circle. Click that center point, and I'm going to make this, let's go with 72 millimeters in diameter. Enter. And I want it to have like a square base where it meets the ground. You can see that here. So I'll just start with that on this one. And I will do let's just do a rectangle kind of generally like this. And then I'm going to start using constraints. So I'll do tangent. It's over here in my sketch palette. This to this, this to this, this to this. And then I'll do a coincident. I want this to be coincident with that center point right there. And then I can get rid of that line. So now I've just got this, this, and this. Three profiles to work with. Okay, now I want to extrude. And I'm going to click those 3 profiles. And they need to be the same thickness as the bearing because they're going to press fit in there. So I'll go symmetric. Symmetric lets me do this where they both expand out the same distance. And then for distance, I want to go to the extent of this whole thing. So I can just click on that, and it'll give me 3.5. It's because the bearing is 7 millimeters in diameter, and we started at that center plane. So that's good. New body's good because I'm in my own component right now. We'll call this stand. Okay, now the next component, so I'm going to right-click on that, or I can just click on it and move to that little thing if it shows up. That's been a little buggy lately, so I'll activate that. And let's go ahead and give this an appearance. I'll go with, just helps me see things, get a picture of what they're actually going to look like when they're done. So I'll go to this translucent plastic nylon. Click OK. All right. So now I'm going to need to make a wheel that's sort of outside of this thing. There's a lot of different ways you could do that, but I'm going to do it in section and revolve it. So first I'm going to go to new component. Let's call this wheel. Might as well name it now, right? I'm going to make a sketch on this plane because I know that plane is in the center of the axis of this bearing. I could have made my own plane on an axis in there, but I don't need to, right? It's all here. So go back to the top, and then I need to project some of the geometry from this thing. So I'll go to Sketch, Project Include, and I'm going to intersect this time with bodies selected, so I get that inner part. So now you can see what the section of this thing looks like. That's good. All right, I'll go back to the top. I'm going to turn off the stand and the bearing because I don't need them. Escape out of that, turn those 2 off. Okay, so now I've got a center line, so I'll do a line here, and I'm just going to kind of go out that way. And then I'm going to sketch offset this by half of 72, so you can either do 72 divided by 2. Remember, you can always do math in Fusion in any dimension, or of course you know that that's 36. So you can just keep in mind you can do that. And then I'm going to need to draw the shape of this wheel. Now the wheel is going to be the same thickness as a bearing, which is 7 millimeters, right? If I click on these 2 lines here and then hide the sketch palette, you'll see minimum distance is 7 millimeters. So just a reminder there. But the wheel can't be right up next to this, right? It needs a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to give myself a gap of 1.5 millimeters. But first, let's just draw the shape of the wheel, okay? So I'll do line, and I'm just going to go from here to here, do another line down here like this, and then I'm going to do something like this. I'll go down like that, and then give myself an angle, and then down here, and then over this way somewhere, not quite all the way to the midpoint, because I'm going to have 2 parts here, and then I'll do another line down here. So I just did that roughly, but now I can give it some real dimensions, okay? So bring my sketch palette back, and I'm going to go and do coincident from this to that point, okay? This thing moved over there. I want a real distance between the center point of this thing and that. So I can do sketch dimension from this point to this thing right there. I'll make that 1, maybe less than that. Let's make it 0.5. Get a little more surface area there. And then this angle, I could give that a real angle if I wanted to. I could right-click, repeat sketch dimension like that, and make it something real. Like it's almost 120. Might as well make it 120. It doesn't really matter. And then I need a real distance between the face of that base and the edge of the wheel. So I'll do that again, right-click, sketch dimension. I'm going to pick this line and make them a real dimension there. So 1.5, that's a pretty good rule of thumb, I find. And then I'll do it again over here. So right-click, sketch dimension like this, and I'll make that 7, right? Same thickness as the bearing over there. So now I have half of this wheel, right? So imagine looking at it like this, and I'm looking at the stand. That's like half the wheel cut in. It's a section of half of the wheel. So what I'm going to do is go to, let's see, create, revolve, and then I'll pick that, that profile. And then for axis, I'll select, and I can pick this line that I did that was the center line, or I can do the axis, the main axis of the whole model if I want, because it happens to be on that. So if I click that, you'll see what's happening. It's giving me a revolve. So if I move this, you can see like I can do a partial revolve. It's sort of moving this slice. It's moving like a pie slice all the way around. So in this case, I want that to be 360, meaning full. Click OK. Now I have a wheel, right? Okay, so now I'm going to need to make myself I need to place that other bearing in here. I'll do that next. So I'm going to look at this from the side first. So I'll create a sketch and look from the side, and I'm going to give myself a real location for the bearing. If I go over here and click on this edge, it's going to tell me that the radius is 11. So it's 22 millimeters in diameter. That's the diameter of this circle, right? So go over here on the back, and I'm going to need that circle to be somewhere over here on this wheel, right? Off center, because once again, if we look back here, you'll see that turning this, the whole point is that it's off of the center of the main axis right there. So I got to find a place to put those two bearings that are going to go there. Go back to this, and back here, still in a sketch. I'm going to give myself a line from the center point out to there. Click on that and do X for construction line. When you do a construction line, it doesn't contain a profile, and it makes it easier to extrude stuff, things like that. Okay, so then I'll go sketch, circle, center diameter circle, and I'll just kind of draw something over here, and then 22 for the diameter. And then I can put it, so make it coincident from this point to this line. So now if I can click on this and move it, and see it's movable along that line, but I can only move it on that line now, right? If I try to pull it, that's what happens. And then I need to give it a real distance from the edge. I need some material at the end there to keep it from breaking. So I'll go sketch dimension from here to here, and 19 whatever, you know, let's make it, I'm not going to do the math for that. Here's an easier way to do it. I'll do a line. First I'll do a line like this, and I will make that tangent to the circle. Then I can take that and offset it over this way and give myself 3 millimeters, which I find is a pretty good rule of thumb. Then I can do tangent from here to here, stop sketch, and now I've got a place for that other bearing, right? So I can extrude this back to here, right? Just click on that back one, or you can give it a real dimension of 7 millimeters, click OK. Now we got a wheel with a hole in it. So now what I can do is go back to the linear motion demo, activate the top level, and I can take this bearing, right, that first component I made, click it in the browser, and then copy paste. And then what copy paste lets you do is pretty cool. You can actually just, instead of moving it around and doing all that crazy stuff, you know, you can move this and try to measure and all that. It's an easier way to do it. You just go point to point, click that outside circle. So this is the outermost edge of the bearing. Click that, and then my other point is going to be outermost edge of the other bearing, which gives me centers, right? And there you have it. So now this is in the right place. You can see it's in the right spot there. Cool. Okay. So then, let's see. Staying consistent, I'm going to take that appearance and put this here. And let's see what happens when we revolve this. So I'll go right here, and then first I'm going to ground the stand because that doesn't want to move. I can pick any of these things and move them around, but if something's grounded, it won't move. And that's good if you want to get a sense of how a machine's going to work. So first thing I'm going to do is assemble as-built joint this thing to this thing. I want the type to be revolute, and I got to pick the center of this somewhere, so I can click on anything that's going to give me the center axis of this rotation. So the outside edge is easy enough, and I can see that's moving, right? Click OK. Good, so now I can click that and move it. The bearing's not going along, so let's do another as-built joint, this to this. This one's going to be rigid. Click OK. And then you'll see this moving with that bearing moving too. All right, so then the next thing I'm going to need is another bearing, right? Because this thing has another, it's got another bearing on the outside of it. So I will take this and copy and paste. Move it over here. If I move it by 7, I know it's touching. I don't want to do that. It needs to be more than that, right? Because I need a little space for the arm to move and not rack up against it and the thing's moving fast. So I'll actually make it 8.5. So that's going to give me, again, that 1.5 millimeter distance between the two objects. So that's cool. I'm going to make a new part. So I'll do, I'm going to assemble a new component. I'll call this coupler. Whoops. I misspelled that. Coupler. Okay, now I need to draw a coupler that's going to stick these two things together. All right. I'm going to go to construct, axis through cone, plane, torus, whatever, and I can just pick one of these cylinders here. That one's fine. And then you'll see it gave me an axis there, right? Now what I can do is give myself a plane to draw on that axis. So if I go construct, plane at angle, and click this, you see there it's giving me a plane. So I can rotate it whatever angle I want. That might be useful for something else, but in this case, that's exactly where I want it. Click OK, and that looks good. So now I'm going to do create sketch on that, and then I'm going to use my sketch project include intersect tool, and I'll click on this, the inner rings of both of these bearings, the inner ones. So that and that. Got it from the top. That looks good. So let's turn these off. Click OK. Now I just need to draw a coupler between those, right? So I'm just going to draw a rectangle here and another one like kind of generally there. It's kind of making me stay on that. It's fine. Cool. Okay, so then I've got coincident. So I want to go from that to that, this to this, this to this, this to this. And then I'll do it again here to here. That's going to give me a part that's kind of taking up the whole inside there. So I'm just making like this shape here. It's a lot of different ways to do what I just did there, but that's kind of how I tend to think about it. Then the next thing is going to be revolve, right? So I'm going to need a line from midpoint to midpoint. And I just create revolve, take all these to revolve. And axis is going to be the one I drew, or that center line, whatever, enter. And if I turn all this stuff back on, you'll see that now I've got a coupler between those, right? Cool. And good, okay. So now I'm going to go back here, activate. I'm going to do all this press fit. I've already demonstrated how to make all these caps and stuff in the previous project I did, the mechanical assemblies. I'll do a link to that if anybody wants to learn how to do that part. But over here, I'm just going to make all this stuff press fit because I've been playing around with this stuff 3D printed, and I think for the most part it would work pretty well press fit. So let's just keep it simple. So I'm going to press pull that out to there so it's like full depth. And then again, I'm going to stay consistent with my materials here so I can kind of see what I'm doing a little better. Drop it onto that. Click OK. Cool. All right, now I need to make an arm. So I'll go to the back here from this point of view. New component. Call this arm. And you know, before I start messing with that, I'm going to go back to the main component, and I'm just going to work with this bearing right here. I've actually got, did I have two? I must have had two bearings. So it's 2, 4. It's actually 5 bearings, the whole thing. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to take all 3 of these, because I know I'm going to need some on the other side. So both of those bearings and the coupler. And I'm going to copy, paste, and then move them over here. So I can look and see, like, how far is this going? 69 looks like it would be tangent to that. I need to give myself a good bit of space over there. So I'll make it 69 plus 6, so it'll be 75. That should give me enough room on that side if I have 3 millimeters. Yeah, let's just go with that, 75. So now you can see over here I got these coupled bearings over on this side. So the next thing I'm going to make is that arm, right? So I'll go here, activate. I'll make a new sketch, so create sketch. And I want to just pick one of these planes. So I'll pick this front plane right here, front of that bearing. I'll go to sketch, project, include, project. And I'll project the bodies, the outer bodies of these, because I need them to make those holes, right? Then I'm going to sketch offset the outside line, not that first line I did, the outside line, by 3. Same thing over here, repeat offset there, 3. I'm going to do a random rectangle somewhere around here. And then I'm going to make it sketch dimension. So I'll go from the center point to that. Let's make that 6. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Center point to this. Click that, 6. All right, so now I should be able to just go extrude, click the profiles I want, and then move them over by just clicking on that, or I can type in 7, or I can do any one of these other options over here. Okay. Change our appearance. Close. All right, so now I've got a wheel. Then I'm looking over on this side, and I need to make a little slider feature now. So where am I in relation to this little base right there? Let's make that part. All right, so I'll go to the front. I'm going to go back to the stand, activate, and all right, I'm going to do something a little weird here. So I'll go back to activate the main level right here. And you got to think about this in terms of what is this thing going to behave like when it moves. That's the whole point, right? If I right-click this and then animate model, you'll see it's moving with nothing, in no relation to anything else, right? Which is what you'd expect. But I need to make it move in relation to this because these things are going to turn, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll make a rigid group between the things that are grouped. This isn't exactly how this is going to move, but it's close enough, okay? So I'll do a symbol rigid group, and I want these 3 things. These 2 bearings and that coupler, okay? Click OK. Then I'm going to do as-built joint between this and, sorry, that's not what I want. What should happen now is if I click on that joint, right click, animate model, you'll see both of those are moving, and that's good, that's what I want. So now I'm going to give myself a revolute joint between these 2. Now, this isn't exactly how this would work, right? The outer ring is moving independently of the inner ring. So really, it would be a joint between those 2 and a bunch of other things going on. Let's not worry about that. Let's just get a sense of how this thing's going to move. So I'll do a symbol as-built joint between here, and then I'm going to make that a revolute joint around one of those axes. So that's what I would see. That's what it looks like, right? Click OK. Right-click on that. Animate model. You'll see that's moving. Okay. This one's kind of staying in place, but if you look at that independently, what's it doing? Animate model. It's rotating that. That's good. So I need to make like a kind of a connection between those 2 things. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'll do rigid group so that these are all kind of like one group. Click OK. As-built joint between this and this, with that as the axis, and you'll see that's turning. That's good. And then the last thing that's going to happen is I'm going to design a thing that makes this slider, right? So if I pull on this slider, you'll see that this is moving in relation to that arm over there. So I can just click that and move it, right? So let's make that thing. So I'll go over here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a, can I do that? Yeah, I'll do a as-built joint. and I'm going to pick this and this, the base. And then for joint type, I'm going to go to slider. And then I just pick an edge that's in that same motion. So here we see this thing moving, right? So what should happen now is if I click on this, if I did everything right, right-click on that, animate model, and there you have it. So there's that motion you're looking for, right? And I did that before I drew all those features because this is actually going to inform the way I design the thing, right? The whole point of this is that it's a tool that helps you, you know, figure all this stuff out easy, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I got to make that the feature for this thing, for the slider. So I will make a new component. I'll call this slider. I don't know what the real nomenclature for that is, but that's just how we're going to do it. Okay, so create sketch, and that's going to be, where would I do that? I guess I'm going to do that on this. So I will pick the outermost face of this thing. I'll project, P is a shortcut, project this. I can take that, copy, paste, and then move that over here by 22. I can do a line, I can click and hold there, so it gives me a tangent. And parallel, line, tangent, parallel. Then offset that by 3. Right click, repeat offset by 3. And then I can sort of do the same thing here, offset 3, offset -3. You'll remember before I told you there are ways to make this a little easier for you so you don't have to mess with all these profiles when you're extruding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the things I'm not going to use, which are these, and then right-click normal construction. So now I'm only going to have like a couple of profiles to deal with. So I'll extrude the things I need. So that's all of these parts. And then I'm going to just click on the back of this bearing right here. Should give me 7 millimeters. Click OK. And I am going to create a, up to the top, activate as-built joint between this and this. That'll also be Revolve. And I should get that same motion I had before. Might have done that wrong. Let's see, animate model. No, looks like it's working. Yeah. Cool. I think I could probably also like it's not really the right thing because that's the thing that was rotating. So let's just do it the right way. So the as-built joint slider between this and this. Let's make it a rigid. Click OK. And it should get the right. Yeah. See, if I just pull on that, it's staying where it needs to be, as if it's in the track I'm about to design. All right, and now for the track. So if I look at it from the side, there's a gap there, and then the track's going to have an opening in it. So let's start with that. So I'm going to go back to this, activate that, and then I'll do create sketch here. I will project this thing. Then I'm going to stop sketch. Why did I do that? Well, watch this. If I click on this, double click, and then make it 180, you'll see that moved over. And now what I'm going to do is create a new sketch on here, capture position, and then P for project that. So now I know I can look here and go back to the specified entities, and I can click these things, right, and then see, okay, this is the actual range of this slider. So if I make a sliding feature in here, I can this should work just fine. So I'm going to click all of that, right click, normal construction, and I will do see if that goes all the way over to there. Let's just do it like this. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to make a line over to here, a line from that midpoint down to here, and then another one over here. Let's just do one thing at a time, and then P for project that. So now I should be able to go to extrude and then just pick this, and back to that. And it should all just join now. Click OK. Very good. So there we are. I will turn that back on. Now I'm going to make a new sketch. Create sketch on, just keep it on there. Turn these back on. And then I can do this. Look, I'm going to project the specified entity, this thing, turn those back off. And I'm going to make a slot now. So I'll go to sketch, slot, center to center slot, like that, there. Let's make this 3. Not enough. Let's make it 6. And then it needs a little space, so I'll just, whoops, repeat here to here, and then I'll do 6, enter. Then I'm going to offset that, chain selection, offset by 0.5. Okay, so that gives me, actually, yeah, so then I can just take this and extrude it out to there, and that cuts through it. So now I've got a hole, right? Then I can go back to this slider here, click on that, and I will create a sketch on this front part. I can do a slot like that, and this is actually going to be 6, not that 6.5, so this will be 6. And the reason I'm doing that is because I need a little bit of a gap there so this thing moves freely back and forth, right? So this, I know, is centered on the outside edge. So I'm going to do another slot on this inside edge over here. So if I do project, I'll pick that circle. So now I've got a point to work with. And then I actually want to make, I'm going to take those, no, those need to stay. So before, let's go back a little bit. Okay, so I made a sketch on this. I need to make a slot that is going to travel inside this thing that's going to be connected to this, the slider inside there. So I'm going to go sketch, project include, project. I need to project that shape, right? I need that center point right there. Sketch, slot, center to center, and then I go from this center to that one. Make it, whoops, wrong one. Sketch, slot, center to center, from here to here, and then make that 6, enter. Then I'm going to extrude that all the way to here, and it will join by default, which is good. Click OK. And once again, I want to click on this and animate model. You should see that going back and forth, as it actually would, right? That's good. All right, so now I'm going to give myself a little a cap that goes on the end of this. So let's extrude this out by 3. Actually, let's make it 6. This is not going to be, no, 3 is good. 3 is good. And I'll show you why. Okay, so I'll go out by 3, and I'm going to make a new part that attaches to this, right? So I'm actually going to do, within this component here, I'm going to give myself another one. So I'll do sketch like that, and then P for project. I'll project this body so it's the same shape. Over here. I'm going to offset this thing by 0.25, smaller offset, and I will extrude this and this back to there. But I don't want to go that far back. I'm going to go back by not 3, but 2.5. And that's going to give me a gap there, which is good, right? And I'm going to do 2 sides. So then this side's also going to go forward by 3. Looking good. Then I need to cover up that part right there. So I'm going to sketch this and extrude that down to here. And it's joining, but I only want it to join on that body, right? So I just turn the other one off. Click OK. And I should have 2 things now, right? There's that part, the male, and then there's this part, the female. Okay. That should just snap on there. I want to use some glue, but that'll do it. Back to this, activate, and I'll move, I'm going to give this an appearance. That on there, that on there. And the only other thing that's missing now is this is going to need a little bit more purchase than it has right now. The gap right there is too big, so I'm going to make that gap smaller. I'm going to turn off, I'll go back here, activate that, turn off the stand, and turn off the last body I made. And then I need all this stuff to move out by 0.1, okay? So I'm going to create sketch there, and I will extrude this and this way by 1, which will give me a 0.5 gap. And I want to join that to the thing I already made. Click OK, and I should have, if I turn off these bearings and the coupler and everything, you should see that there's like a, let's turn off the arm too, see what's going on in there. It's like a little pocket, right? And that should do it. I think this will work. It might be a little snug in there. So one thing that might be a good idea to do if you really wanted to be careful with this is let's turn all these things off and give ourselves a little bit of a gap in here. So if I turn on the bearing, this inner part needs to move freely, right? Like it doesn't, I don't want it to rub up against what's on the inside. So I can project outer body right there, turn this off, and it gave me a little circle. And then if I extrude this by minus 0.5, for example, maybe even more than that, right click on this in the timeline, edit feature, -1. And that would work, but it's probably too much. 0.5, let's just go with that. Then what happens is if I turn all this stuff back on and we do a section analysis, I'll go back to the top. Let's do inspect section analysis from here down, whoops, down to here. And if you cut through and look at it from the top, you'll see that there's a little bit of a gap in there, right? It's going to push all the way up to the end, which is that part. Whoops. Switching here. It's going to push all the way up to the back, but it's going to leave space in the middle so this thing can rotate freely. And that's going to help a lot. It's going to work pretty well. That's pretty much it. All the other stuff is you're just kind of adding features. Like if you want to add these caps I did, or like this is a connection feature right here, or there's a driver right there. So the only other thing I would do here probably is for this part, actually I would take that, suppress that feature because I want it to go back a little bit. Then I'm going to make a driver cap. So I'll do create new component, driver, and then I'm going to make a sketch on that plane. I'm going to sketch intersect this, and then I'll make just half of a profile this time. Move it here. That down to there, and coincident from this to this. And let's make sure we have a line closing this out there. Then I can create Revolve from here to here, if this is an axis. And then in the front of it, for the driver bit, let's see what I had over here. So this actually fits in like a standard 1/4 inch drill driver, so it's 6.8 millimeters from there to there. So I'll just do a sketch on the front, then I'll do a polygon like this, from there to there, 6.8 divided by 2, and then extrude this back like 8, 9, whatever, and activate. And then I want to do a thing like this, okay, and then I'm going to do another rigid group between this and this. So now when I rotate this thing, animate model, you'll see it all moving together. So the inner shaft of that is moving this wheel, right? The inner wheel of the bearing is making this thing turn. You can do another section analysis on the origin that, then you should get a pretty clear picture of how this works, right? That inner bearing moves, the inner wheel. These are both connected to it, and then the outer one bears on the outside, and so on. So it's like rotate, 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 and then it moves along that slider. So that's about it. Let me know if there's any questions about this. The Instructable is the place to go for all the details and all the files and so on. So yeah, have a look at that, and thanks for watching.